So what was all that about? Compilation of clips from 4 different productions of Hamlet, pictures of unoccupied chairs, and technological devices such as Google Glass. Well, my proposal. Reinvigoration, theatrical production, and augmented reality. You see, the challenge we face in theater studies is that theater studies is not one thing. The practice, production, and craft of theater are seldom in direct conversation with the historical and theoretical studies. But this is art. We only learn by doing. The specific question I pose is, how might technology be used to bring the discussions of performativity generated around an old play, not simply the question of what does a play mean, but rather what does a play do, and reinsert this conversation back into a fresh production. Now, the beauty of theater is that in its elegance, it is always fresh. And this proposal does not seek to replace the liveness of theater, but rather to look, literally to look, at a play in a different way, to see what type of renewal technology might bring. My idea, therefore, is to superimpose, or tag, performance material that might be viewed through an augmented reality device, such as Google Glass, or smartphone apps such as Erasma, onto a live theatrical performance. Here we see our young audience members, perhaps arriving at the theater, required to see a performance, bemoaning the fact that they are about to sit through a play that no longer seems relevant to them. While this type of integrated technology might be used in an infinite number of play settings, here I am considering a specific case study, utilizing my own line of theatrical research, the American plays written over the last 30 years about and in response to HIV/AIDS. The relevance of this material has dramatically changed as the nature of the pandemic has changed. As such, this is a perfect possible case where we might look at a play that seems to have lost its necessity in a new way to recall the conversation it sought to begin. And to be more specific, I've chosen the 1993 allegorical play by Stephen Dietz, Lonely Planet, itself inspired by Eugene Ionesco's 1952 absurdist play, The Chairs. As the curtain goes up on Act 1, we are taken to Jody's map shop, with the owner, Jody, looking down at a chair that has mysteriously appeared in his store. As the first act continues, we meet the second character of the play, Carl, Jody's friend, who is sneaking another chair into the room. By the end of the first act, the shop is cluttered with empty chairs. But what might this mean? What do the empty chairs symbolize? When the intermission arrives, our young audience members might be impressed with the work of the performers, but as the allegorical understanding of this particular disappearing number of people is no longer a part of their reality, the play merely feels dated. Before Act 2, the audience is instructed to put on their glasses equipped with the augmented reality technology. As the curtain goes up on Act 2, we see the transparent and videoed image of Carl seated in one of the chairs. In the play, you see, between the first and second acts, the character Carl has died. From the audience point of view, however, without the technology, Jody is speaking with an empty chair. But through the augmented reality device, we see the shadow of Carl tagged to the scenery. The final image of this play is something that could not be accomplished without this technology. All of the chairs that are crowding Jody's map shop are now occupied by shadows of people. Virtual reality video presence tagged to each piece of furniture. And the equation we are left with, as this curtain comes down, is new theatrical production of an old play, plus new technology, here augmented reality, equals a reinvigorated discussion of the history and theory represented in the play and the performance. Perhaps our young audience leaves the theater. They begin discussing what it was they witnessed. And as the new images superimposed in the production reminds the audience that, in this case, the shadows represent the people in Jody's life who were lost to AIDS. But by no means is this technology limited to this singular play. Imagine the ghost of Hamlet's father speaking with young Hamlet, or Macbeth, or Blythe's Spirit, or The Picture of Dorian Gray, or Jake's Women, etc., etc., not to take away from the perfection of these plays themselves, where absent presence is an important part, but a possible way to use new technology to revisit a play and to reinvigorate theoretical, historical, performative, and theatrical discussions. Now, this may be cost prohibitive at present, but perhaps not. The technology exists, but the tagging and coordination of the interactive augmented reality would take some wizardry. But it can be done. And I thank you for your attention.